Susan Sontag's Against Interpretation is a groundbreaking collection of essays that reshaped modern critical thought. Published in 1966, it embodies her provocative and transformative approach to cultural criticism, merging intellectual rigor with accessible prose. The book serves as both a critique of traditional modes of interpretation and a call for a new way of engaging with art and culture. Sontag challenges established frameworks of meaning, advocating for an experience of art that prioritizes its sensuous and immediate impact over rigid analysis. At the heart of Against Interpretation is the titular essay, which critiques the dominance of interpretation in Western cultural criticism. Sontag argues that the modern impulse to interpret art has resulted in its diminishment. She traces this tendency back to ancient philosophy, particularly Plato and Aristotle, who framed art as a vehicle for meaning, subordinating its aesthetic qualities to its moral or intellectual message. For Sontag, such approaches are reductive, stripping art of its vitality and transforming it into a mere object of intellectual scrutiny. Sontag identifies the modern critic as an interpreter who dissects art in search of hidden meanings, allegories, or symbolic structures. This approach, she asserts, imposes an external framework onto the work, severing the viewer or reader from its intrinsic qualities. She laments that art is treated as something to be decoded rather than experienced, leading to a disconnect between the artwork and its audience. To counter this, Sontag calls for erotics of art, a mode of engagement that foregrounds the sensory and emotional dimensions of art. This approach celebrates the texture, form, and immediacy of a work, rather than its supposed message or ideological content. The essays in the collection span a wide range of topics, including literature, film, theatre, and cultural phenomena. Sontag's critical lens is eclectic and far-reaching, reflecting her interest in both high and low culture. For instance, in her essay on the films of Ingmar Bergman, she praises his ability to capture the existential dilemmas of human life without succumbing to didacticism. Similarly, her essay on modern cinema highlights its capacity to evoke an authentic, visceral response in viewers, positioning film as a medium uniquely suited to bypass traditional modes of interpretation. In another notable essay on style, Sontag examines the interplay between form and content in art. She rejects the idea that style is merely a decorative element or secondary to a work's meaning. Instead, she argues that form and content are inseparable, and the experience of a work of art is shaped as much by how it is presented as by what it represents. This perspective aligns with her broader critique of interpretation, as it underscores the primacy of the aesthetic experience over analytical dissection. Sontag's exploration of the cultural zeitgeist extends to her essay on camp, a term she defines as a sensibility that values artifice, exaggeration, and irony. In Notes on Camp, she celebrates the subversive potential of camp as an aesthetic that resists traditional notions of seriousness and taste. Camp for Sontag is a playful and liberating response to the constraints of conventional aesthetics, emphasizing the pleasure of art over its intellectual or moral dimensions. This essay, like others in the collection, demonstrates her ability to articulate complex ideas with clarity and wit, making her work accessible to a broad audience. Throughout Against Interpretation, Sontag champions a new mode of criticism that seeks to liberate art from the confines of interpretation. She proposes that critics and audiences alike should approach art with openness and receptivity, allowing themselves to be moved and transformed by its presence. This vision reflects her belief in the transformative power of art, which she sees as a vital force in both individual and collective life. For Sontag, art is not merely a tool for conveying ideas, but a medium through which we experience the fullness of being. While her arguments are compelling, Sontag's work is not without its critics. Some have argued that her rejection of interpretation risks trivializing the intellectual engagement with art, reducing it to mere hedonism. Others have pointed out that her own essays often engage in the very interpretive practices she critiques, suggesting a paradox at the core of her project. However, these critiques do not diminish the enduring significance of her work. Against Interpretation remains a seminal text that continues to inspire and provoke debate, challenging readers to rethink their assumptions about art and criticism. The collection also highlights Sontag's commitment to interdisciplinarity and her ability to synthesize diverse influences. Drawing on philosophy, aesthetics, psychoanalysis, and popular culture, she creates a rich tapestry of ideas that transcends disciplinary boundaries. Her writing is characterized by a sharp intellect and a passionate engagement with her subjects, reflecting her belief in the importance of intellectual and artistic vitality. In Against Interpretation, Sontag emerges as a voice of resistance against the ossification of critical practices. Her call for an erotics of art resonates as a reminder of the profound, transformative power of aesthetic experience. By prioritizing the sensuous and immediate, she challenges us to re-engage with art in a way that is both intimate and expansive. Her essays remain as relevant today as they were at the time of their publication, offering a timeless critique of the cultural and intellectual practices that shape our understanding of art and its role in society.